Body bags where horror lies.
Hello and welcome to Body Bags. My name is James and I'm your Sunday night reviewer. And this evening I'll be bringing you the Australian movie Roadgames. So, well, it's set in Australia, but our two main actors, we have Stacey Keach and we have Jamie Lee Curtis. The name just popped right out of my head then. But anyway, this is like a Richard Franklin film. And my first impressions on this, I'd never seen this one before. It's one that I know Umbrella have had out for quite a few years. And I think that was the only blue for a long time. And then early last year, I think it was, Scream Factory put one out. But I picked up the Indicator one. I just hadn't got around to picking the others up. And then they did this really nice edition. So I was like, let's grab this. I need some more Indicator titles anyway. They do fantastic work. So this one, I kind of knew what it was, but I was expecting something more along the lines of maybe The Hitcher. So I was actually quite surprised with how this kind of film panned out. It's more of a suspenseful mystery rather than a horror movie, I would say. Like, the horror elements are very light, but they are splashed throughout the film. I have to say that. It's more the Stacey Keach show, rather than kind of what you might expect, especially from this cover. So it's I'll kind of go into the movie. So Stacey Keach, he's actually a trucker in Australia. So he drives his truck all over the country, taking whatever needs to be taken to wherever. And this particular trip, he's taking some meat. I can't remember where it is now. Perth, Melbourne. I can't remember where he's going. Anyway. So yeah, he's got pigs, basically. Frozen pigs in it. In the back of his truck. And yeah, there's these reports of this killer. It's like serial killer kind of thing. It's like killing women sort of thing. And he's like listening to this on the radio, driving along. He's at this one place and he kind of sees this guy watching this rubbish, and then he sees this guy in this van, and then he's starting to put two and two together and adding things up. And it's kind of going on the same route, and he's picks up this woman who's broken down. And yeah, I kind of don't want to go into too many details on this. It's quite easy just to kind of, this is a very easy film to talk through, like scene by scene, like how it's all put together. It's very formulaic. It's not like an Agatha Christie thing. It's like where you have to kind of really think about who the killer is. It's not really like a whodunit sort of thing. It's like, no, it's suspenseful. Like, you're following this thing, this green van, and it keeps appearing at different times. And there's different situations that pop up where there's kind of interaction. But one thing I noticed, there was never the sense of a feeling of dread throughout any of this. It kind of always felt very safe. There's elements of humour that pop up. That's not a bad thing within itself or anything like that. And it does fit with the film, but I mean, even when we get to the end, there's no danger, you feel. I mean, I'll throw this in there as a spoiler. There's one point where Jamie Lee Curtis, I mean, she doesn't even come into the film for a while, but when she does, she eventually gets kind of kidnapped. And you don't know what's happened to her. It's kind of like she disappears and then she comes back. And it's like I said, it's the Stacey Keach show. You just follow Stacey Keach throughout. And he's excellent in the film. He keeps it ticking over very well. It's nicely paced for what it is. There's no like sluggish bits. Well, it depends. I was very interested with the script and how it was all unfolding. As a second time view, will I find it a little bit sluggish? Because it lacks in the action. And is that detrimental to the film that it doesn't have the action? No, but I could see how this film is put out. Not the film's fault, but people will expect something a little bit different, and I could see people being disappointed with this, definitely. Especially if you're thinking like I was, something like The Hitcher, that's like a high octane kind of action with lots of kind of bloody gore that's going on throughout, and suspense is kind of oozing out of every pore of that film. This isn't like that, but it's still very well put together, very entertaining. Little iffy, the kind of the green screen sort of thing when he's driving the truck. It's like, I'd have liked Stacey Keach to be driving the truck all the time, but you can clearly see at some point that the way the scenery, the way he's like going down a straight road and he's steering like crazy. It's like little things I always bug me like that. Not too much, but it kind of takes you out like, yeah, it would have been better. And I would have, maybe if it had been like lesser stars and maybe not some big budget sort of thing, like, well, I don't think it's a particularly big budget, but like a smaller film, they probably maybe would have had the driver driving like the main actor actually driving the truck and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a really interesting one. It's kind of like there's no like, although it's like suspenseful kind of, you don't have to work out who's done it, who did it, that sort of thing. It's like I said, it kind of rolls out how you kind of think it's going to roll out, and there isn't really anything wrong with that as a first time watch. But I think this doesn't really have a huge amount of rewatchability. Give it a bit of time and watch it. Well, no, actually, that's not particularly fair on a film. I think give it a couple of years and I'll be watching this again. I mean, this particular release has so many extras on there. I think I'm going to be really interested to go through these. And it's a good film. It is a good film. Just don't kind of try and label it as something when you watch it. I mean, I don't tend to do that. I just had an expectation. Maybe it's going to be like this. But I didn't mark the film against it not being what I thought it was going to be. I kind of watched it for what it was and found it enjoyable. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of light talk through the film. I recommend you give it a watch. Like, this is a superb release by Indicator, but there's other ways you can pick it up now. Like I said, Umbrella and the Screen Factory have it out on Blue, and I think there's a few DVDs like bouncing around with it, so you should be able to pick it up cheap. But anyway, I'll catch you guys next Sunday. Thank you. Bye bye.